Good afternoon. This is Dr. Bill Wyatt again. I'm with the American Orthodontic Society, and I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit about an impacted situation that I had where there were three teeth, or I just call it multiple teeth, were impacted in here. And it's a rather interesting case, and I'll get right into it here and try to make it as short as possible. This is a situation where on the right side of the mouth, the 3, 4, and 5, or the cuspid and the first and second bicuspid, all were impacted at the same time. I have never seen this before, and I have never seen it afterwards. And so it's an interesting case, and I'll go right on into it here. It's a beautiful little Oriental girl came in, just as really a pretty young lady, and looking at the face from all directions, it looks good all the way around. And there's her smile, and you can see on this right side of the mouth as the cuspid is showing right there. It's missing, and you see the gap on that side of the mouth. So let's get into a little closer looking at the intraoral pictures here, and you can see the cuspid all the way back, and this is a 6-year molar back here on the right side of the mouth, and the rest of the teeth look quite nice. She came in with her family, and let's look at it a little closer over here, and you can see pretty plain now the cuspid and the first and second bicuspid. The cuspid is way the heck up here, and then the bicuspid and the other bicuspid is right in here. This cuspid is sitting on the first bi, and the first bi is sitting on the second bi, and they're all impacted. We'll show this on several x-rays before we get through here. Now, the other side of the mouth looks pretty good, but we've got a few things to do on that side, not anything outstanding that you wouldn't know how to do. Now, we've got some rotations, of course, and tooth crowded out, and simple things that you would correct in here automatically. But this cuspid and the first bi and the second bi, now they had taken these deciduous teeth out when I saw the young lady came in the office with that, and apparently the dentist that looked at it first decided he didn't want to tackle that, and I can kind of understand. I looked at it and thought, my gosh, what can we do here? The lower arch looks quite good, except just a few things that we would do orthodontically. Now here's the first x-ray, and this case came into me in 1996, the 5th month, and this is what got me. This cuspid is just sitting right up in here. I don't know where the roots are, but they must not have matured yet, but anyway, or else they're sticking out along the sinus wall up here somewhere, and it's sitting on the side of the bicuspid, and then this bicuspid is on the second bicuspid, and it's laying up against the molar, kind of on the outside of the molar, or one side of the molar, maybe the lingual side, I can't tell from that view. Now, so somebody in her family did the attachment up there and sent her back in to me, and we had this little chain, you see, that's hooked on this cuspid tooth, and we started pulling this tooth down. Now it's amazing how this straightened up, and I thought it was going to be a real knockout type case, but it really wasn't. So we'll go through these videos. That's number 2. This is number 1, and we kind of drew that off. That's number 2. This is 9 of 96. In other words, we just gotten started on this. At this time, she's 13 and a half years old when we started this. Now she had this tooth right there with that problem. Let me see if that wasn't there to start with. Yeah, it was there to start with. So we didn't have anything to do with that tooth dying. It was already dead when we got in. Okay, now let's see, number 3, the tooth is, we've started pulling it down, you see, coming down this way, and it starts bringing the bicuspid along with it. It's really pretty simple. And now we're at number 4, panorex. We've got the cuspid way down from up here, you see. It's come a long way. Now that's number 7. Let me back up a few here. This is number 4. You can see pretty fast you can read the time up there when it's going. Now there's number 6. I don't know. No, that's number 5. I'm sorry. And we've got it almost in place. And here's number 7, I guess. The tooth is in there. We've got the bracket on it and everything lined up. And now we'll just have to put some tip in that tooth and try to bring this root, try to bring it over in this direction, which is what we tried to get done here. Now we're using just plain spring just to pull it down, and the arch wire kind of pulls up with it a little bit, but not bad. The other side's working out. Everything's looking pretty good at this point. Now the other teeth are lined up, and we just have to make a little space here to get this cuspid in place. Let me go back here. I'm going to have to get my little marker back in action so that we can show. So we're going to push this around a little bit, move this direction, open this gap, and bring that cuspid on down into that. And we've done the corrections in here. While I'm at this point, I want to point out something. Oriental people frequently, and Hispanics in this area, have a large marginal ridge back here on the lingual side of these upper teeth. And I very frequently, well, every time you do this, really, if your lower central or something hits one side of this big marginal ridge, see it come out like that? If it hits it here and this doesn't hit, there's no way that tooth can keep from turning or doing something. And this one will do it too. But if you will trim these down gradually as you go through the case and end up with a kind of a shelf here for these teeth, where the lower teeth, the height, the overjet and overbite that you have, where the lower teeth just set on these 2 ledges in here. And if you are really good, you can add a little composite in here and let the tooth have a bite plate right there. It'll just come down. That will be real stable. But if you don't trim these things, they nearly always will turn. They can't hardly help it if the central just hits on one part of that and comes over into this part. It doesn't hit anything. It will almost have to turn in there. So over a period of years, of course. So that's just something else I'd stick in, showing these large marginal ridges on those teeth. Okay, down on the bottom we straighten that out and get everything. Got that bicuspid back in place in here. Looks good. Now we're going to hook onto that cuspid, bring it in, and then we'll pull this arch down in this area right in here. Now we didn't use our spring deal to do this. It didn't seem to be necessary. It just came in so nice without much of anything pulling on it. But it did kind of strain. You need to get a stiffer arch wire now. We used a little stiffer pulling it down. That rotate it with this, and then we'll hook onto the lower arch and pull these teeth down in place here. You could put a tad in there now if you wanted to, and it would not raise these up at all, but they don't come up hardly any. Alright, here's the other sides going real well. Now here we have put a elastic back here at the molar and gone up here and then put it on the tooth, and it's going to pull this down. See, it's hooked on back here at the molar tooth, and then comes under. You put one of these little T-hooks on here and run it under that and come up to this, and it'll pull this arch wire down. This is a stiffer wire here, and you could put a little reverse curve in it if you wanted to counteract that, and it'll pull this down. Alright, now the cuspid is coming in. We haven't really put any spring in there to push it apart. I don't know why we haven't. We should have. Let's see what we get. Alright, it's coming in. Apparently we're just going to squeeze a space in there with the tooth, which is not, well, we must have put some spring in there, and I didn't get a picture of it because this gap is bigger than the tooth. Right now, that's what we usually do. Open up the gap good so the tooth can slide in there, and then once you get the tooth positioned and torque the root in and everything, then you can close this back up. Now this bracket, the tooth is much thinner back over here, so we had to bend the arch wire down and put a little cuspid eminence in it. And that's something if you don't know how to bend wire, but this is such a simple bend, but just a straight wire across there will pull this lateral too far out. It's much thinner than the cuspid over here. And you need to learn how to put these little in and out bends in there. So please learn to bend some wire. I would appreciate it. Now, we're in the American Orthodox Society, we're interested in doing bang up good orthodontics. Now you see the root cuspid over here, where the cuspid is. This cuspid is going out this way. Can you see that? Now we need to put some torque in that. When you get in a rectangular wire, where you're going to try to torque this root in with the arch wire, you see. So you've got a slot that's coming in something like this. And your arch wire in here, you want it to force that tooth in. So you have the wire bent like this when you come up to that. So just at that tooth, you bend that wire like that. You have to flex it, stick it in here, and now this wire is going to tend to push the root of that tooth into that spot. If you've got it tipped where it's not running into the root of the bicuspid and the lateral. So I hope you learn how to put the in and out bend and put torque in between that. Just that one section of wire right there will bring that root in. If you want it to go in pretty fast, put a little more torque than you really need, and when it gets in there, then you take it out and fix it where it's just passive, where when it's correct, and they're about like the rest of the teeth in there. So this has worked out quite well. That's the other side now. Everything looks good. These little tiny brackets have a lot of inner bracket space, and you can bend the wire quite a bit if you just got a short inner bracket space. See, it's hard to put stuff like that in the wire, so you torque better with a smaller, more narrow bracket, but sometimes, and so we kind of settled on these brackets with wings on them, call them Lewis and Lang brackets, and they rotate. I quit using it one time because we didn't have good sealants back then, and you get food hung under there, and I got some decalcification in there, so we went to these little tiny narrow brackets. On the bottom they've got this trimmed off here so you don't hit them very much, and you can put them down pretty low just so you keep the incisal edge correct. Okay, now we've got the cuspid pretty well lined up. I notice I still haven't trimmed it. I don't notice I even trimmed them at all, but I should have if I didn't. Now this is lined up good. This lateral's got to come out right here, or it should. Alright, the cuspid root looks better now. It's torqued in a little bit, but it's still just round wire, so I haven't done much torquing on it. It won't torque at all. It just may have drifted in from pressure on the lip up there. Okay, it's still not in. Now we did a up and down bend here. See the height of these had a little difference in the bracket. Rather than take the bracket off, we just put a little bend in the wire and keep the incisal edge of the teeth coming along good. Now this looks better. It's not perfect. I don't know if I ever got one exactly perfect. This tooth needs to be rotated more, and it's not there yet. Okay, now this looks good on that side. This is 98. Now we have the lower teeth looking pretty darn good right here. I hope we trim the upper. So this may be the last part, but here's the second bicuspid. The first bicuspid is up in here, and the cuspid was sitting on top of it up there. You can go back and look at those x-rays on these videos as much as you want to see how we did this particular case. It's coming along good right now. Well, that's just models. My blooming dogs are barking outside, so you'll get a little bit of that when you try to make these videos. It's hard to get everything quiet around the house. Alright, that was the upper model showing it in 6 of 96, and here it is 10 of 98. So it took just a wee bit over a couple of years to do that, to get it straightened out. We'll put a retainer, and I didn't trim them much. I did trim some of it, but not as much as I should have, really. And that's the lower models, and there the lower models are lower in the mouth before we took it off to put braces on. So that's the end of that case, which was an odd set of impacted teeth. I've never seen 3 of them stacked up like that in the mouth. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I don't know where that young lady is today, but I hope she has some beautiful teeth. She was a very beautiful young lady, and it makes life better for people if they can get their teeth straight and get a beautiful smile. And that's very gratifying, and that's, I guess, why I worked till I was about 88 years old before I finally gave it up, and then I've been doing these videos. So I hope people all over the world can see this and see what to do with a case like that. So I'll hush and continue on here. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.